Ja. Wat de hell? Wat de hell, bro? Nah.
Zo moet hij erin,
Zo moet hij, 100%, 100%. Nice. Wel geen grip gebruiken. Crazy.
maar is het andersom, joh. Staat daarin.
Nee hoor, kijk hij staat daar naartoe.
Kom aan, afmaken. Kom aan, voorzichtig, rustig aan. Kom aan, yes. Kom op. Kom op. Kom aan, laatste greep is bak. Ja, goed zo, goed zo. Kom op. Kom aan, yes. Hakje, hakje. Ja, lekker.
So before we're gonna get into the weighting, I have already weighted this Bouldergym in the past. It got like a 6.3 or something. But yeah, I wanted to rate it again, so I deleted that old video because at the time they were experimenting with this new grading system they are using right now. So I eventually decided to delete that video and wait a couple of months and then try to rate it again and see how good it is right now. And they also have changed a lot in like these 2 months I've waited. They have now a tension board 2, like the training area is a lot bigger and they have a lot of more stuff. And the boulders also changed a lot. And I think it's really interesting to, see where the gym stands now and if it got better or if the quality dropped a little bit or, just seeing how the gym does. In my opinion, I do think the Routesetting has declined a little bit, and I'm also going to get further into that now. The good things about the gym's Routesetting is that there's a lot of nice dynamic boulders at the moment. Like with the new grading system, they set a lot more dynamic boulders and really nice flowy boulders. You could see these kind of boulders also throughout some of the competitions in the Netherlands. And they use a lot of different holds, which is really, really nice. Like you have a lot of color boulders. The things that I don't like about Routesetting though is that there's like blocked holds on boulders that shouldn't have them. Boulders that are way that are graded like 6C have blocked holds already, which I think is just really strange, and it shouldn't be that 6C should have like blocked holds already. Then also the grades feel inconsistent, both feel quite length dependent. And then there's also like the fact that some 6Cs feel way harder than some 7As in the gym. Sometimes the holds are also turned upside down for no reason, making the boulder way harder than the grade. Most boulders that have this were already the grade, even without the upside down holds. Then there's also some boulders are better breakable, and there's also just too much holds on the wall. Like I scraped a lot, like against a lot of holds in this session. I think like 3. Normally I don't have this in like any gym that I went to. And yeah, I think that's just really, really weird. And like you also feel like the power boulders feel way, way too long for the grade. The green 7B fell way harder than 7B and was just so extremely long. Like it was basically like you were like doing a route, and it just, it just feels really weird because this is not really how I remember how Revolt said it. I really much more liked the boulders where you have to be really like figuring out how to place your hands and how to do the boulder with like these really weird triangle holds or really weird holds that you could like that made it like a lot harder to read the boulders. And I think that's what I missed the most in this climbing session. And I think that's why I'm going to give the Routesetting a 5. I just don't really think it's that great as it was before. I liked it way more when they just used the color system, because then you had these like really technical boulders, and it was way more like trying out these new different things with these holds and really like experimenting with it. And now it just feels like, all right, we have enough holds, so we're just gonna put something on the wall. And I think that's just a little bit disappointing, and I'm still pretty happy that DelftsBleau does that. But I definitely do think that this gym, compared to now also the National Climbing Center, has definitely like decreased a lot. This was supposed to be the gym where a lot of the national youth champions and a lot of like the really, really strong people that wanted to train for the national championship or the Dutch championship would have trained normally. But now with the National Climbing Center, this gym basically just like fades to the background. And I also didn't really saw anybody in the gym, and that's I think what we're gonna rate now, the Sociality / Friendlyness. And I don't know how to rate this without just straight up telling what I saw. I saw in the gym basically nobody, like 3 people. Maybe it's because it's summer and that there's not that much people climbing, but it was 4 p.m. and normally 4 p.m. in like Revolt, like even in the summer vacation, it's usually like, when I am going to compare it with a few years earlier when I climbed in Revolt, it was way more crowded. So there's definitely like a lot less people than there were in the gym. It was basically like, you had the staff members just like, sitting behind the bar, talking a little bit with each other, just like chilling. And then you had like 3 people in the gym, and those were basically like climbing in a group. And yeah, it was basically like completely like silent. And then you had like these 3 people that climbed together, and then it was basically like me and my brother and my grandma, and that was basically it. I don't know how it's normally, but yeah, I do think the staff is really, really friendly, but there's not really anybody in the gym, so I'm gonna rate it a 4. So yeah, now it's time for the training area. You have a tension board 2 now, campus board, and a spray wall, which is really, really nice. Then like the training area has like quite a lot of weights, so you can easily do weighted pull-ups. Weighted belt is also somewhere in the gym, but I didn't film that. You have a lot of hangboards, enough to at least like let at least like 8 people at once hang on the hangboards. And there's also this really nice obstacle course or whatever this should be, but yeah. pull-up bar is not that far from the weights, and you also have a tension board 1 and some pretty nice training essentials. And yeah, you also now have this new machine with weights, which is really nice. So yeah. So yeah, I basically think this is the closest thing you're gonna get to having a perfect training area as a Bouldergym. So yeah, like the only thing that I can say is that it deserves a 10, the training area. I think it's really nice. And yeah. So yeah, now for safety and safeness, I didn't really saw a lot of safety signs or like safety rules hanging in the gym. But there was also nobody really in the gym. I do have some past experiences with the gym, like that I had to wait more than like 10 minutes until the mother with the kid went away when I was climbing in the middle of the boulder. Because like there was like kid that was like just like climbing again and again and again, and the mother was basically like standing there, and the people climbing there saw it and didn't do anything, which I think is quite strange, or was quite strange. And like it's also really annoying if you are midway in a boulder, you have to do a dyno, and the kid is basically like trying a one again and again and again. So that was definitely like something that could have gotten better, to just have a rule that the people climbing in the gym, or at least have like somewhat of like that people climbing in the gym say something about it. Like I tried to say something about it, but the mother didn't want to listen to me, and just let her kid climb like 10 more minutes. So yeah, I think that was quite annoying when I climbed in this gym. And then there's also no age of how old you have to be to train in the training area. I think that's also quite weird. Like, definitely when you're really young, you kind of do stupid things. Definitely when I was 12, I did a lot of stupid things because I was a kid. And I think a lot of people that watch this video probably did also a lot of stupid things when they were young. And I think it's good to prevent things going really wrong. I think it's good to have somebody that pays attention and looks if the kids aren't, just going to the training area, even though they definitely aren't of age. It's good to also like always have somebody, looking out that kids don't do stupid stuff. I had a lot of youth trainings that I did in the past, and it's quite important to do that, because some pretty nasty stuff can happen if you don't pay attention and the kid does something really stupid. Then you will get the blame for it. And sometimes you have to learn the hard way, but the gym is definitely like, in big trouble if that something like that happens. Because, let's say one of those kids wants to bench press, for example, and he basically like pulls the bar up, and like, the other kids are running, and he can't pull the bar up anymore, and the bar lands on his chest. There has been a lot of accidents happened in the past with like the fitness world, where there was like a person that bench pressed, but there was no spotter, and after like a few minutes he passed out and he died because the weight was stuck on his chest and he couldn't get it up. And it basically like, if that happens with a kid, it's kinda, the fault of the bouldering gym. So I would definitely recommend, having an age up of how old you have to be to train in the gym, and also having somebody always on the lookout when there's really young kids in the gym, so stuff like this can't go wrong. The gym doesn't get the blame because of this stupid stuff that can happen. Like, I don't know if the staff does something when kids are running around, or maybe are also like running around in the training area, but as far as I have seen, I didn't saw any staff member going to the mother with the kid that was climbing like for 10 minutes straight. So yeah, for me, I'm going to give it a deserved 5, and I'm not going to give it higher because I haven't really seen the staff of the gym with all of the sessions that I've already had in this gym, because this is basically like the first gym I went to. Every single time I went climbing in an older gym than Kunststof. Yeah, like in the time that I climbed in this gym, like all of the time I didn't saw like any staff member really like, making sure that the kids didn't do stupid stuff or, didn't do dangerous stuff. So for me, I'm just going to give it a 5 because I don't really see the reason why I should not give it a 5. If you guys have a reason why I should give it higher, please let me know. Then I can maybe like, push this total score up a little bit. So in the very last video where I'm going to show you guys all of the ratings, I can boost the total score a little bit if I think it's fair what the person is saying. But yeah, otherwise I'm just gonna let it stay on the 5. Alright, now for cleanliness, I saw a lot of black spots on the holds. Yeah, there was like quite a lot of chalk also on the holds. I don't know, like the holds also felt quite sweaty. I didn't took any photos of the holds, but I felt it a lot in the session. And I think you guys will also feel it quite a lot in the session if you're going to climb in this gym. Yeah, for me, I do think it's definitely like way cleaner than Kunststof. So I'm going to give it like a 8 with cleanliness, but I do think that they can definitely clean it a little bit. The new mats are definitely really, really nice because, the dust isn't on the mat, is not lying on the mats anymore, which makes your clothes, way less dusty, which I think is really, really nice, and I think it's good that they did that. So yeah, it's going to be a 8 for me for cleanness. Alright, now it's time for the last aspect, which is the air quality, conditioning and ventilation. So for the air quality, I felt like there was like a lot of warm air. It's quite hot in the gym also, and when I was using chalk, I saw that the chalk particles or the dust particles from the chalk stayed in the air. So I'm going to give it for air quality, I think, a 6.5. For conditioning, I think there just really wasn't a lot of air flowing in the gym. They didn't had like, like they had in Beverwijk, like a air filter, or like, any windows open. It was basically like you had these 3 ventilators in the gym, and yeah, like the air couldn't really escape. Like the door was open at the entrance of the gym, but because the gym is so big, the air just gets trapped. So for me, for conditioning, I'm gonna give it a 3. And then for ventilation, I think it's better than Sterk. Sterk only had like one really big fan. So yeah, the ventilation in this gym is definitely better. They have 3 fans placed in the gym right now on different parts. You can like stand in front of the fan and just like, cool off a little bit. You can also climb shirtless, which is really, really nice. So I'm gonna give them bonus point for that as well. So yeah, I'm going to give the ventilation, I think, a 6 in total. That's with the +1 bonus point. So yeah, I think that's that. Let's now go through some of the Google reviews. I have 2 Google reviews for today, because yeah, there aren't really like a lot of new Google reviews or really bad Google reviews. So yeah. So our first Google review is by Jochem. Beautiful technical routes, a lot of modern competition style bouldering, not that much classic crimpy routes, which is a little bit unfortunate. What they can definitely improve on is how clean the routes are. The routes are covered with shoe rubber, and one of the locals also told me that people don't brush that much. For the rest, he says that the gym should make sure that people brush the holds so the boulders are clean. And with that said, I definitely am agreeing with this guy on that statement. But I do think that there are already more than enough crimpy boulders. I think what this boulder gym needs the most right now is this really weird and interesting setting that what they did like 1 year back, when they used all these weird kind of holds, and tried to get all of these weird body positioning, and I definitely think the color grading was a lot better. But yeah, that's all personal opinion, of course, if you liked the color grading more or the number grading more, but I'm going to remove 1 point because this guy is almost completely white. So our last review is by Raymond van der Werf. This review is quite short compared to the others we have had in this series, but I guess it's alright. Looks pretty good, but the climbing level is a bit too hard for younger kids, 5 to 6 years old. I'm not really agreeing with this statement. Yeah, I do think that the grades, definitely 1 to like 6, are definitely way suitable for 5 to 6 years old. And I think they can probably also do those boulders, but higher boulders, so 7s and 8s, then you're already like talking about stuff that competition climbers from the age of 12 and higher are already trying. So I do think it's really suitable also for really, really young kids, but also for normal kids overall. So I'm not gonna remove any points for this review. So the total score of this gym is a 6.2. It has dropped 0.1 point, so it didn't really matter after all. I do think that yeah, it's really good to switch the gyms in Delft. So if you're going to climb a lot in Revolt, also try to switch to DelftsBleau as well. I think switching between those two is the best option if you want to climb in both of the gyms and still have fun and train really hard and not run out of problems. And you now also have Base Delft. I think Base Delft is going to be the best Delft gym though. But yeah, we'll see. You will never know what you will how good a gym really is until you have climbed in it. So yeah, I think that's what I wanted to end this with. I do think that DelftsBleau and Revolt are still both like really, really solid, good gyms to climb in, but I do think that it's not good to climb in both of the gyms every single time. I think a lot of the people climbing in Delft also choose to switch gyms. That's I think also why you don't really see a lot of people that climb in Revolt and Delft, because a lot of the people just switch gyms, because now you of course also have Base Delft. It's much easier to just switch gyms because then you have every single style and you never really get bored. I think that's a good thing, but I also really want one gym in Delft to be a gym where they can where with the same type of importance as National Climbing Center right now, because I feel like there's not really right now any Bouldergym in Delft that the youth national champions and the national champions really go to, because DelftsBleau, like the Dutch champions, like they sometimes go to that gym, but a lot of the time it's just empty. And then you have like Revolt, and there's not really anybody around right now. So yeah, I really want one of these two gyms to be what it was like. The importance that they had is now basically like gone, and I just want them to have the importance back, and be more be just as special as the National Climbing Center, because I think both of the gyms like DelftsBleau and Revolt are both just like really good gyms, but it's just that they used to reset the boulders once every 2 months, and that's DelftsBleau, and then this gym just chooses to chill and not really do much with like its setting, than just making some dynos and a really hard power boulder 7C or 7C plus, and they don't really focus completely on getting that same thing, that same setting style as the National Climbing Center. So yeah, like I know this gym had like Revolt has had a lot of people from the youth national championships that climbed here, and like basically all of those people now go to the National Climbing Center. So that's just people that climbed here a lot, that trained here a lot, that are just now like going somewhere else. And I think that's just really disappointing because now this gym is basically almost empty. And I think that's just, it shouldn't be. I feel like I can't really do much about it. So, yeah. Alright, this was it for today. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. Oh yeah, and also, Bing Chilling.